We have none. We're going to go into the special town meeting warrant because Article 52 was added, and Heather is here to address any questions or a slight explanation of what it was. And the first question I really have for you is, does the new explanation box work?
Yes.
Okay.
What version do you want to use?
Oh, we're going to be using 05 warrant ATM and 06 warrant STM. Thank you for clarifying that.
No dates, just ATM and STM?
Yeah, just ATM and STM at this point.
Okay.
05, that seriously just comes because I need to number all the PDFs in order, so when I put them into my merging software, they go in the right order and merge it together as one PDF.
All right, so 06 STM,
This is the STM, right?
Article 52.
This is the STM.
Yes, STM is the last article.
Okay, so it's the last article. This looks like we had an underestimate of the amount of cost or funds we needed to actually get the full repairs done. So,
Right, so, you guys were at the plant, so
Yeah.
a lot of you saw that these are the big vessels we had been talking about repairing and replacing the filter media. So we took the media out of one tank, had the tank inspected. The tank inspector is a certified ASTM inspector, and he's also a certified welder, so that he was able to look at the tank and say, well, your tank won't meet the ASTM certification anymore. If we're going to bring it back, we are going to need to do 5 days of welding versus the one that was in the contract. So this is to bring the tank back up to the ASTM standard, which will give us longer life in the tank if we.
is there a rough estimate to that lifespan?
No, well, you got to think about it. Those tanks have been in service for over 40 years now. So, you know, getting another 10 years, another out of the tanks are going to probably outlive everything else in the plant at this point, which is good, but we also don't want to have a deficiency in the tanks. So we'll spend the money, do the welding interior, have them recoated. We shouldn't have to worry about the tanks. We'll be replacing the plant before the tanks are going to show any.
What does the tank cost new?
Well, it's not just the tank. If we are going to change something in the treatment plant, you're probably rebuilding the whole treatment plant at that point. So, which we're in this, I don't really want to get into, but we're in this period of evaluation. Obviously, everybody knows about PFAS. We have to do PFAS sampling. We've had low-level hits of PFAS, but if that means that we're going to start getting PFAS, that means we're going to have to change our treatment plant. So we won't know that for another couple of years. The other thing that we are watching is sodium and the chlorides, which could be affecting our wells, which again would change our treatment. So we're in a very big evaluation. If I had a crystal ball and said none of that was going to happen and we're just going to put in a new green sand plant, I might say, nope, we're not going to spend the money on the tanks. We'll save it and we'll redesign it and we'll replace it in 3, 4, or 5 years. I don't have that crystal ball to know what we're going to be treating for yet, so I think we'll extend the life of the plant. We also know that the filter media is going to be good for another 10 years. Yes, we'll have to do other things on that plant to make it functional and keep it functioning, but it should give us treated water until we know what we're treating for.
Any other questions?
Are the tanks inspected every year?
No, these aren't tanks that would be inspected every year. I mean, we do a visual inspection ourselves every year, but in order to inspect the interior of the tank like we do, you have to take all the media out of it. That's not something that you want to do until you're at the point of actually replacing the media.
Okay.
It's not like a tank, like our large water storage
Yeah.
tanks, which we do have inspected every year because you can get in them, because you can put
Yeah,
a
okay.
camera down in the water or a diver down in the water. That's a different type of tank. These tanks are filled with actual media, like sand.
You don't meet inspections until after it's needed?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, the tanks aren't in really bad condition. This ASTM that we're meeting allows zero, what we call pitting. So we're really bringing it back to probably more than what we actually need, but there's also the side that if we have a deficiency report from an inspector like this, DEP is going to come in and say, what is your plan to replace these tanks? It's not as much as that the tanks wouldn't function, it's that we're going to have something say that they have a deficiency in them that we want to protect
Or you
ourselves
get
from.
fined or something, yeah.
we'd be forced into replacing them sooner than we want.
Okay.
Or coming up with a viable repair to make it.
Right, or doing what we're doing, so you know, if we know that one is either replacement or going to have to do what we are doing anyways, we might as well buy, you know, we're in there now, we have the contract now, we have the people to do it now, it's the time, instead of going through the whole thing of bringing them down and back up again.
The standard you're trying to meet, is that the standard, or is the standard that
So
you
it's the
chose, and we chose
standard-
a slightly different standard?
So the tank has an ASTM for the way the tank was built itself, right? So it has an ASTM code for that
Yeah,
tank.
okay.
So we have to meet that tank's code. I will say, but again, it's a standard steel tank. Could be used for, it doesn't have to be used in water treatment, it could be used for something else. So they build it to a higher pressure than we're operating at, a higher temperature than we're operating at. But it's still, if you're going to meet the ASTM certification, he can't vary that. And he even said to me, he's like, even if I could bring, it's not such a high pressure that standard is, bringing it down to your pressure isn't going to say that I can make a change and say you can have this much pitting or something like that. It wouldn't make sense for them to make that tank.
So what's pitting it, the medium?
So the pitting was probably, it's because it gets corroded on the inside. It's probably not from this time, ironically. It's probably previous times that it was coated. But if we're going to bring it up to standards, we're bringing it up to standards. We're not going to fight that.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if.
It wasn't coated as well as it's coated now or as well as we're coating it previously.
Got it.
No one can see us.
No one can see us?
Let's see if this helps. Oh, well, now they can see Mike.
Say hi.
I don't know how to make it something else, but.
We just finished recoding our tank, 25,000 gallons.
Oh, let's see.
Same thing had to be done.
We shut that off.
40 years old,
How much was that?
$69,000.
It's funny, because I picked.
We just recoded it, now we have to replace the rest of the system.
Jeez.
Once you start picking at it, you have to be careful, because DEP comes in and says, well, if you did that, you have to do this. So now we have to get
Almost
rid of
the
the
integrated
secondary
web-
pressurized tank that feeds the
Mike,
system.
you're gonna be a presenter, people are just gonna see you the whole meeting.
Is it because they didn't turn the,
No, when you sign in, you're supposed to pick there's a special thing that hooks it into
to the
this
camp?
here.
Yeah.
And I picked it, but it doesn't seem to want to do it. I would have to end the meeting and go back into it. And I don't think we want to.
Well, there is something unplugged hanging off the table.
There is?
Yeah. I don't know what that is. I can't see from here.
Yeah.
Is that the other, is the other?
Oh, you know what? This is the component. Because someone plugged in the mouse and it's stopped.
My work here is.
It looks, you know, yeah.
At least for tonight.
Give her a minute, she deserves it.
I think this is gonna take care of
Tell
it.
everyone.
And there we go. We're back
Said
in
you get a
business.
minute to do that.
Thank you.
And you see us now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there we are.
Okay.
Technology specialist.
There we go.
So I'll make a motion, that we
Voice you have.
recommend the town vote to approve the articles written.
Do I have a second to Mike's motion? Jim? Any other questions for Heather? All those in favor? That's 8-0. So thank you for taking the time and come out and explain it to us.
Welcome. Thank you. Have a good night
Thank you, Heather.
and hope it doesn't snow.
Yeah, really, or
We'll be
ice.
wishing and hoping.
All right, we're back. And so let's just stick with the STM and we're gonna work backwards. So if you guys have like Article 51, anything in there that you want to change, summary boxes, anything, we'll
Okay.
just work backwards.
Well, on that, actually, on Article 52,
Yes. Oh, yeah, I fixed that. I saw you when I went and copied it. I took the out.
and also just the, at the end of the third line under the article, or, I don't know, is it technical to have the slash?
That's how I've always done it. I
Okay.
wrote it, so that's how I always do it.
No worries.
You know?
Okay. Well, 52. I just marked, I've always seen it and/or, but it, maybe that's an Ohio thing.
All right. So, all right, so we'll go back to 51, and then when we get to the ATM, we'll go in order. We good with 51? Mm-hmm. All right. 50, monitoring wells.
In the summary portion,
Yeah,
the second sentence, a new well will be drilled.
oh, yeah, yep.
Upgrade and replace it.
Upgradient to replace it, I don't think. I like that better. All right, great. We're good with that? All right, so moving on up. Article 49, semi-quincentennial.
That's how you pronounce it.
All right, I'm gonna assume we're good with that then. Article 48, transfer of free cash for insurance reimbursement. Nothing, moving in. 47, purchase of a six-wheel dump truck.
How many miles? 41,022.40?
Oh. So 20, yeah, that's a good question. You happen to know, Robin or Barbara?
I think we're
It's
talking
not got
about,
412,000 miles, right? It's,
Oh, hold on, let me look up.
Just ignore for a 10-year-old truck.
It was, yeah, 412,240 or
yeah,
41,000.
I think it's only 41. They don't get a lot of mileage.
yeah,
If you just lop the zero off, it's close enough.
yeah. It was within 16 miles either way, if it's the 2 or the 0. All right, we're taking care of the 0 if you guys don't have an answer.
Okay, I'll keep looking, but that sounds right.
All right.
It shows 3,100 plus hours of use. It's not going to be 412.
We're all in agreement there, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so moving along into Article 46, purchase of a 10-wheel dump truck.
It is 41224.
Great, thank you,
That
Barbara.
is correct. You're welcome. Just took me a minute.
All right, moving into Article 45, unpaid bills. That's pretty straightforward. Ditto at 44, unpaid bills. This one's coming from free cash rather than the Sturbridge Tourist Association. And then finally, snow and ice removal, which is the 73,500. All right, hearing nothing, I'm going to say we're satisfied with the STM warrant and everything that's in it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to save that. All right, moving to the annual town meeting warrant, we'll start from the top. Town reports. Good. CPC report. Article 3, reserve of annual revenue. Good there.
Okay, I'm sorry, could you slow down?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, are we doing the warrant articles?
The annual town meeting warrant article. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do our actual report next. I'm sorry.
No, that's
I'm
all right.
kind of probably working backwards.
You're confusing me.
Yeah. That was me the other night.
There we go.
Okay, so Article 4 then, Preservation Administration Fund. 5, Community Preservation Debt Service. Good there. 6 is gravestone restoration. With the summary boxes. 7, path and trail enhancements. 8 is, go ahead.
For 7, just after, in the box, after Heinz Farm Trails, probably should be a comma instead of a semicolon.
Oh, because Cabin Loop has one too. Okay.
Oh, right,
No,
didn't catch it.
oh, that's good. I mean,
Yeah, it's a mix.
They should either all be commas or all be semicolons.
yeah, no, got it corrected, thank you. Article 8, Trail and Bridge Project. All right. The only thing that's not in there that was discussed in our meeting, and I don't know how much of an explanation, is that they are going to, if awarded that $500,000 grant, they're going to apply it to the borrowing portion of this. I mean, that's not really in here.
Well, it's the last
You know, I
sentence of
should
the
say-
box.
Yeah, I see that. I should probably add just here, which, if awarded, will go towards the borrowing costs.
You know, we'll reduce the amount of cost, or amount that will be borrowed.
Right, thank you. I'm just gonna,
That should be, that is in the text box. It's the second to the last
Yeah,
sentence.
grants received will be applied to
Oh, yeah, it does
offset
say
the
that.
amount to be
Yeah,
borrowed.
offset the
where
amount
do
to be
we,
borrowed.
oh, okay, great. I'm
It's all right.
really missed that.
Covers it.
Yep, it does.
When would they find out about that grant? Would it be before?
Sometime
Oh, he said later in June or later.
later in June.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right,
what I
yeah,
thought.
that's right.
Yeah.
I did. Oh.
All right. Article 9, Grand Trunk Trail Extension. 10, Town Historic Survey. 11, Trust. Okay.
No, okay.
Okay. 11, Trust. 12, Survey to continue Grand Trunk Trail. 13, Restoration of the Revolutionary Wars gravestones. 14, Community Preservation North Cemetery gravestone. 'I don't know, I guess I can live with it. I mean, I guess it's coming forward from the CPC, because I got to imagine the way it really should, the sponsor says CPC, but I would imagine that the Sturbridge gravestone keepers went to them, and should they be the sponsor?
It's a CPA article, so
Yeah, it's a-
CPA sponsors all the articles, even though multiple
People
trails
request it,
committees
yeah.
and so forth. request
The
one.
gravestone keepers is not any kind of formal committee or anything like that. It's a group of volunteers. And it came through, that Wally Hersey works with, and it came through him and had to go through all of those channels before it got to you. So it is CPC who is the sponsor.
Article 15, I kind of changed the title on this one just so I could page fit stuff better, so, but the intent is still there. Article 16, now this is something we need to act on tonight. I just like to make sure we dot our i's, cross our t's, in that we have several meetings ago voted all of the non-education line item things. Then in the last meeting, we voted the education ones, but we actually never officially voted to approve Article 16 as written. So I'd just like to entertain a motion that we approve Article 16 as written. Jim,
Second?
and then Kathy's the second. So any further comments? All those in favor? Great, so I'll change the vote on that. Thank you. Save. All right, road construction, repairs, and maintenance. That looks good. Public Access Department. STA.
Public access, so
Okay, let's go back.
funds for this article provided by a surcharge on each cable bill. That's true, but it's not one that the town imposes, right? It's one that charter or somebody, I don't know if it makes sense to clarify that it's not the town that's imposing the surcharge in that way.
I think it is. I think in the contract negotiation, the town says you will provide us with so much money.
Okay.
Is that true? Do either one of you know, Robin and Barbara? I think that's part of the negotiation in the for them to get the monopoly agreement.
I mean, how else would Spectrum know if they didn't get it from us? The amount?
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's a good question, though.
Yeah.
I never really thought
Yeah, I
about it.
just thought it was one of those, some other agency imposing a bill, a tax, so to say, on the bill,
it's a contract and they charge the fee for service and we basically get that to pay, let's say Bruce and the other videographers. But Bruce is on our payroll, not on Spectrum's payroll.
Right, and I'm fine with language as is.
Okay, thank you. Sturbridge Tourist Association, Article 19.
I'm gonna go to Larry on this one. Is it the revenues are split 67.5%, or the tax which is split 67.5%?
Well, the collections of the 6% hotel motel tax is 67.5% to the general fund and the remaining split between
So
those
is
two
it
accounts.
tax? That's a nit, we can move on.
Oh,
Tax
okay.
is split, it must be the aggregate, right?
I
So
just,
so is it the revenues, plural, is what are split?
It's the revenues, the revenue that we get from the hotel motel tax.
so if we said the
So-
revenues derived from a 6% hotel motel tax is split with 67, would that be clearer?
The revenue is the 6%, is it not?
Yes.
Well, it's the collection of that 6% hotel motel tax.
The amount is
You
the
took out
6%.
the, where the revenues come from, then the sentence would read, "The revenues are split." Right?
That's why I say
Again,
derived.
It's a nit.
I'm going to go with the derived from, and then I'm
The
going to,
revenues are derived from,
From a
which
6%
are split. So then you are splitting the revenues, not
Yeah.
just splitting the tax.
right, which are split. Beautiful.
So they come from, derived from.
Okay.
All right, we'll save that. All right, Article 20, Betterment Committee.
Same, nit.
Okay, the revenues derived from, yeah. Are split. Okay. Article 21, Capital Improvement Plan. Okay, 22, Library Elevator. Trey hit save,
The box,
yeah.
okay, these funds provide, question, architectural services and the installation of a new elevator, or just the architectural services? The last
You're
sentence,
asking about the total amount?
No,
It's
we're
for
asking
all of
about
them.
the summary box is kind of, yeah, I get where she's coming from, this is architectural services. That, in my mind, doesn't necessarily mean the installation of a new elevator,
Yeah.
but making it look pretty.
yeah, 500,000 for architectural services.
so why, good point. So why don't we take the, let's move the last sentence up. So the architectural services is outlined in the condition report, and move that into the first sentence. So this article will provide funding to upgrade the elevator and architectural services outlined in the report at the Joshua Hyde Library. And then you can just get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah. Control.
I would think that $500,000 is a lot, awful lot for an architectural design. Yeah. I think that's probably looking at 300,000 to 400,000 just in the elevator, depending on, right?
So the new summary box reads, this article will provide funding to upgrade the elevator and provide architectural services as outlined in an elevator condition summary report at the Joshua Hyde Public Library. The existing elevator and associated components are original to 1989 and have failed several times.
Okay,
Okay. I left
That's
the
accurate.
last sentence, so I just had to delete. Someone say something?
I said, that's accurate.
Okay. Article 23, Capital Stabilization Fund. 24, OPEB.
in the box,
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4 lines down, I think there should be a comma after prescription.
Okay.
These benefits include health insurance, prescription, or other related benefits.
That's okay. I'm good with that. Article 25, reval. 26, vets exemption. 27, rescinding chapter use and code. 28, revolving fund spending limits.
Okay, I'm back on veterans exemption. Is that going to be automatic, or does everybody have to reapply?
I believe they have to apply.
Which one is he talking?
They have to apply for it.
26, veterans.
You have to reapply?
Yeah.
Well, some haven't even applied at all, so, yeah,
Well,
everybody would have to.
Some of the veterans are already having, so why couldn't they be upgraded? They're going to have to reapply. I'm just questioning.
Yeah, I don't know the ones that, yeah, so it's possible that if they're already in the system, they'll just
they're
get an
in the
increase on
system,
that
they won't have
exemption.
to
I can check with
reapply?
Ann on that, but I would think if
I
they've
don't
already
know, but I
applied,
think-
they're probably gonna be in the program, as long as there's no change.
Well,
It's just an
you-
increase in the amount.
We have a
For,
veterans
I mean,
agent.
for
that would handle it.
exemptions, you have to apply every single year. That's in the law. So if you don't apply, if you miss the filing deadline, you wouldn't receive it. But usually, once people get in the program, they just automatically know to do the paperwork with the assessor's office every year.
So, okay. So to close that issue there, maybe the last sentence should read, the increase in the amount of potential exemptions, if adopted, as opposed to,
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
exactly
going
what
up to
it is.
$42,000.
I actually want to take if adopted and move it to the front of that as a sentence, just to make it read clearer.
Okay.
You can tell I didn't have a lot of time to actually read the boxes, so I appreciate that you guys did.
So, and just to be clear, and I think I stated this when you guys were doing this article and when Ann was here, that amount, that estimate of the 42,300 is based on those exemptions that we currently have on a yearly basis. So that number could go up and down based on the number of people who apply every year.
Right.
Okay.
I think the increase in the amount of exemptions, that should be the number of exemptions.
Yes.
Amount of salt, number of grains.
So,
Count them
So
individually.
amount,
It's-
to me, is the dollar amount that we're putting in, number.
yeah, but I see what Larry's saying, the way it's worded, we're saying the amount of potential exemptions, not the potential cost, right?
Grammatically, it should be number. Because if you can count the exemptions singly, one at a time, that's what he's getting at grammatically. That's the way it, am I correct on that, Larry?
Yeah, if you talk about the amount of people, that's a pile with arms and legs and heads. You talk about the number of people, whatever it is, 911.
This sentence
difference.
is talking about the amount of the exemption amount that could increase.
Could be increased,
Not the
right?
number of exemptions.
Right, but the
that
way
could-
it's written, it's like,
The exemptions are individual exemptions.
You might want to change the word to cost.
instead of exemptions, yeah.
Well, the increase, it's the increase to the cost of exemptions, if adopted, is estimated at 42,300.
There you are.
You got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
So what you're saying is
You're
we
welcome.
will collect $42,000 less in taxes as opposed to the exemption, okay.
We're not
We
saying.
will give out $42,300 more in exemptions, which will ultimately not be reimbursed.
So if adopted,
I'd say.
this would increase the amount of potential exemptions by $42,000, is what we're saying.
It'll increase the cost of the exemptions.
Well, so if we take this out, I'm gonna take this out. If adopted, the increased cost of potential exemptions is estimated at $42,300. This amount would not be reimbursed by the state. So, there we go.
Sounds good.
All right,
The other thing I tripped over here is, at the end, starting at the end of the second sentence, additional exemption percentage before July 1, beginning of the fiscal year. The word beginning trips me up there and in the next sentence. So we're saying you have to adopt this before July 1 of the fiscal year in which that percentage will first apply.
yeah.
So if we take the word out, beginning out, I understand the sentence clearer.
Okay, I'm good with that, yeah. July 1st of the fiscal year, because the fiscal year begins July 1st, and we identify that all over the book.
And at the,
Before the,
you read the next sentence, at the far end of the next sentence, you have that again.
Okay.
it could say percentage before.
We're just
the-
striking the word beginning.
could say, Kevin, it could say the percentage before the July 1st beginning of the fiscal year. Because it is, the July 1st is the beginning of the fiscal year. Inserting that word would suffice, I think.
I just,
It's
striking
of the
it.
fiscal year in which the percentage will first apply. We're good with that.
All right.
Just to be clear, this has to be voted before July 1st if you
right.
wanted it to be for the fiscal year that starts July 1st.
Correct. I think
Okay.
we're saying that.
Do we have to vote this every year, or we vote it this year, it stays in place?
This will stay in place until it's rescinded.
It's a pay raise, basically.
Article 27, rescinding chapter and use code. So I think we're there, revolving fund spending limits. Landfill grading and compacting. Okay, Cedar Street sidewalk project.
In the box,
Yep.
as part of a complete, is it a streets grant? The town is proposing to put sidewalks on the easterly side of Cedar Streets? Or Cedar Street?
Street.
That would be street, yeah.
Okay. But the beginning of the sentence, as part of a complete streets, that's what it's called?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
But the S in Cedar Street is incorrect.
okay.
All right.
Catch.
All right, Article 31, Water Department.
Yes.
Mike?
So the last sentence, it says this budget will increase the water rate to 872. I don't want to, it almost sounds like you vote this in the town meeting versus the board of selectmen as water commissioners is voting the increase. But that, they voted that Monday night, right? So I don't know that this, maybe that sentence should be clearer, that just more factually says, the water rate, has been increased to 872 effective, whatever it is, and just kind of leave it at that, since it's a done deal, and that action is independent of this article.
So if we just said the budget covers the operating expenses for providing public water in Sturbridge, resulting in an increase of, to $8.72 per cubic foot, and just kind of strike the rest of that? Or resulting in an increase?
Does the budget result in that, or or are they two separate actions?
If this budget is voted, the rate will increase to the 872. This is the exact wording that you guys wanted last year, just to let you know.
Yeah, and did the select board vote to raise the rates
Yes.
already?
They did, they voted to raise the rates based on that budget.
So if this budget doesn't get approved, they're gonna have to go back and revote different rates?
Yes, and, theoretically, they could, yes.
Was the vote contingent on this budget, or is it just in anticipation of this budget?
In anticipation of the budget, I would say.
Yeah, I would too, based on watching it. They kind of figured it was fait accompli. All right.
Well, let me go back then, because
Okay.
again, just to make sure that voting this article doesn't by itself change the rates. It's a separate action by the select board as water commission. So maybe it then just say this budget will necessitate an increase in the water rate to $8.72 per cubic foot.
Well, if this budget is voted, then the rate will absolutely go to 872. Because the rate is set every year based on the budget and then any miscellaneous revenue that goes into the water fund and then also the sewer fund. So it is going to happen. The budget will increase by that amount.
So if I go to the next article in sewer budget, the sentence is, this budget requires a rate increase, blah, blah, blah. So if we just do the same thing in both places, I'd be.
I thought that's what we did. This budget will increase. This budget, will increase, yeah, it doesn't require.
So in the sewer, it says this budget requires a rate increase in the rate too.
Right, you're right, that should be will increase.
So instead of,
I see what you're saying, you want the same language.
and I would say requires is the right language.
You think requires is the better word. So we should put requires in the top.
I get a chance to ask this question before. So why would all of the town residents vote that don't have water or don't have town sewer?
Because we're the last bank of if for some reason every water person decided not to pay their bill, but we still have costs there, the town is still responsible for paying it. And then we would have to go after all those water people and attach liens on their houses to make them pay it. I guess you would say the town is the borrower of last resort.
So the governing authority would be the town.
I'm just trying to think how that works in a community where you have a separate water or sewer commission, independent of select board, and they don't necessarily take their articles to town meeting. They just manage it as that their separate little board there. But
If you had a mayor or something.
it's an interesting question. Yep.
It may be the process in which they were appointed or had that water sewer.
Hang on, I'm having all types of.
If you were a community that had a district water department, they have district meetings, and if you live in that district, then you vote on the budget for the water department.
I can picture one community, you have your annual town meeting where you go and you vote your commissioners, and then you vote the budget and their warrant for that water district there.
So, all right, so.
They have town meetings, it's just, they're called district meetings.
So the water department summary now reads, this budget covers the operating expenses for providing public water in Sturbridge. This budget requires an increase in the water rate of $8.72 per 100 cubic feet.
I'd like to make a recommended change. I'd rather than, in parentheses, 3.2, which usually indicates, or usually is like negative, or 3.2%. It's not a negative, it's a plus 3.2%. They have it, at least in mine, it has it in parentheses, which is usually a negative.
So maybe
Or
we take the.
3.2%.
Cubic feet, comma, a 3.2% increase.
Yeah, 3.2% increase, or, because if anything's in parentheses, usually a negative in budgetary, you look at it like a
It's a
negative.
parenthetical to whatever in the end. It should be on the other side of the period, but I'm okay with a.
Same thing,
Just make it-
same thing with the other article.
3.2%
Okay.
increase to 872 and.
Okay, good point.
So I'm just putting after feet, comma, or 3.2% increase.
Yep.
And then I'll go down now to the sewer department.
Thing.
Okay. So
No, I don't.
So now for the sewer department, it reads, this budget covers the operating expenses for providing public sewer in Sturbridge. This budget requires a rate increase in the sewer rate to $16.07 per cubic feet. Now, this one, right,
Or
this,
6.4.
Or 6.4%, unless you want to put that 6% somewhere else.
there's something really stupid going on here. I think it's because they anchor these stupid text boxes. Or a 6.4% increase, comma, and flat sewer rate to 240 through.
Or 6.4%.
Kevin,
I would put $243 per quarter, right?
Not or,
A,
it's a 6.4%.
yes. I'm sorry, there were two people there. I know Larry wants to say something, and I'm having all types of problems here. Larry, sorry. Go ahead. What did you have? What did you want?
for Article 31 and 32, as all articles, I think the text box is supposed to inform, not influence the vote.
Right.
Well, I'd like to suggest that the last sentence in each case say something like, a yes vote authorizes an increase of, and so forth.
No, because the town meeting doesn't set rates. Water, select board as water and/or sewer commissioners have the authority to set rates. So the yes vote doesn't set the rates.
Yeah, the yes vote is only approving the departmental budget.
Just like a yes vote on a town meeting, on the line item budget doesn't set the tax rate or whatever, that's another process for.
Well, then, is it correct that if this budget is voted, then the selectmen or sewer and water commissioners are required to then vote that figure?
Yes. And they've in fact already done it.
Okay. Well, they've already done it.
Yes.
So
They
this
did
is
Monday
catching
night.
up to a fact?
Yes.
Shouldn't we say so?
I guess we could put in there that BOS has voted this increase at, what was the date? 9/8/7, the 7th, was it whatever Monday night was.
To deliberately, knowingly withhold relevant information seems wrong.
Yeah, that's where I started my discussion. We can always, go instead of saying it requires or whatever else, go back and say, water rates were increased,
This budget
the
reflects the
select board
vote.
is acting as, in their role as water commissioners, increased the rates to whatever, to whatever, effective whenever, in anticipation of, in support of this,
This budget reflects the decision by the sewer and water, select board, whoever, on such and such date.
so,
Well,
And that
you
creates the
could
question.
argue that the water and sewer commissioners put the cart before the horse.
Well, they sure have, it looks like, because what if they have done what they have done, so it's not a what if, but for whatever reason that the townspeople decide, they vote no.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, the rate is
That's
the rate.
why they should know, the voters, before they vote, what the consequences of their vote, be it yes or no.
So,
yeah.
yeah, I
So
agree.
that's where it went from, so,
So we can say this budget requires an increase in the water rate of a 3.2% increase, which was approved by the Board of Selectmen at their April.
I wouldn't say requires, it reflects.
Okay.
Remember,
So
as Mike
there's-
earlier said, this has no authority.
the
they
rates
can't be required.
the rates reflect the dollar amount in the budget here, not the budget reflecting the rates that came first,
Right.
Rate's already been set.
in anticipation of this budget.
We should say what happened as clearly as we can. The voters have got to know.
Yeah?
So this has already been approved by the Board of Selectmen?
Or it's
and
already
a
been
done
put in
deal.
effect by
Okay.
the Board of Selectmen.
Well,
Well, the
that's
rate.
all the more reason to come clean.
What are they voting on?
Okay,
How
so,
about this, how about this budget covers this budget. I just had this budget. Covers the operating. What are we voting on? Budget.
we're talking about the text box for the water
Oh, no,
sewer
no, I mean,
department.
what are
Yeah.
what are they really voting on?
In other words,
Oh, I see, at the.
it's already
town
been done,
meeting
so what are they voting for?
They're voting on the
They
budget
say
amount.
no, so what?
So
Voting
town
on the budget
meeting
amount.
is voting the budget, 3,686,000, if we're, let's go to the water.
Water is the first one.
1.8 million dollars. So town meeting is voting on that. The select board in their role as water commissioners on Monday night voted to increase the water rate to 872 per 100 cubic feet. Effective whenever, we should put the effective date in there, right? In anticipation of this budget, or to reflect this, this budget amount.
Okay, so we can say,
I believe that's what they did. Robin would.
the select board,
There is a question I'm not sure we know the answer to. What if they vote no? Does it nullify the prior vote?
No, so then they have to go back and say, is that rate still effective given whatever budget's been approved? Or do we go back and then revise, they'll have to go back and set a new rate?
If a voter takes the floor and is recognized by the moderator and directs a question to the Finance Committee on this topic, what is our chairman's reply?
How do we defend it?
we're just gonna collect, we don't have a budget for the water department. So we're just gonna collect funds.
That's the answer?
It's not a good answer, but it's what we've done.
Well,
So there's two things here. If I vote on this, what's gonna happen? Select board has already voted these rates. A new water rate, effective whatever date it becomes effective, you know, and that reflects the costs that are in here. If the town meeting votes $0 for the water department, well, we don't have any authorization to spend money at the water department. So that takes on a whole new thing. Doesn't matter what rate we charge them, they don't have any money to operate the department.
in which case, somebody on the floor could stand up and say, then why the heck are you even asking us?
Yeah.
It's a
That's what
very
I'm
fair
trying-
question,
I'm
but
still trying to figure that out.
Writing it so that.
I mean, if they did it wrong, let's correct it. It's not right.
Okay, can I interject, please?
yes.
Okay, so I just look back, I have some books with me. So back in fiscal '22, and I think, Kevin, don't usually bring all the books with you, but
I have
every
them
year we have put in the box for town meeting what the rate will be
Right.
if the budget is voted. So so I don't think it really matters right now that the select board voted the rate. The vote that was taken by the select board at their meeting on Monday night was setting the rate based on the budget that was presented.
Right.
I would assume that since for the past 31 years that I've worked here, the rate has been based on the budget that is voted. If a lower amount of money
That's
was
what we-
voted at town meeting, that myself and Robin, would go back to the select board and say, based on the budget that was voted at town meeting, we do not need to increase the rate to $8.72, and we would adjust it and they would revote that number. But if you look back in all the FinCom books for town meeting, there is what the proposed rate is going to be based on the budget presented. And in fact, in fiscal '22, the text box says the budget that was presented would not result in a rate increase. So we absolutely figure all that out before
Right.
we go to town meeting. So
But
that
did the
to Larry's
select board
point, in
always
the
vote
opposite
ahead of
way,
town meeting?
Hold on, so that people know, based on what they're voting, if you vote this, this is what the rate's gonna be.
Correct, but do the select board always vote in anticipation? Or do they wait after the town meeting and then vote? That's really what the
Honestly,
problem is here.
I get it, but does it really matter at this point? Because that's going to be the proposed rate regardless of
Proposed
whether they
rate.
voted it or not at this point. And
Proposed-
again, if,
What, is the required rate, not really?
Well, proposed is the key word, because if this proposed budget will increase, proposed, this says here, this budget will increase, like, done, over, whatever you say, no, to Larry's point.
this
it's done.
budget,
This is
meaning
not,
if
if this is
you
a
vote
proposal, let's say, this is a proposal, you can say you don't want it.
It will increase the water rate to $8.72. That's a fact.
So it's not a proposal, it's a fact.
Suppose someone offers a substitute motion, the purpose of which is to roll back the increase, but only the increase.
But the rate is not the subject of the article. You'd have to turn it to someone else to it.
Any motion, any recommendation by the Finance Committee is subject to a substitute motion from the floor.
But the article, as long as it's within the bounds of the article is not a rate-setting article. The article is just to approve the budget, not to approve or set
Who
rates.
can maintain that? The final word rests with the moderator.
Well, no, that's what it does. But as to Mike's earlier point, this budget, if adopted, would require the town to set the rate at $8.72, because it's just a formula. What am I missing, Larry? Help me out. You gotta,
Somebody stands up with, they have a substitute motion, it's seconded, and the voters say, yeah, we don't want the increase. We want it the same for the coming year as it is in the current year.
all right, so then you would go back, then you would have to do the formula based on whatever the new number is. And like Barbara said, the select board would have to go back and set a new rate.
So we're gonna do this
So
with every
this-
warrant article? Because
so
every warrant
this-
article is a
All right,
proposal.
so if a
By that definition,
We're not changing the proposal.
if a substitute motion
every
can
every
cause
budget
a
is a proposal.
change,
Yeah.
then why if a substitute motion can require the voting board to change what it already did, why isn't it also true that this one, if defeated, does the same thing? In that case, why is, and if that's so, why is the word required in there? The Finance Committee has a deserved reputation over the years of doing the voters' legwork. Well, let's do the voters' legwork right now on these two articles. Because if they ask, and we got some kind of a cockamamie, we really mean well type of answer, there is a pretty big nick in the reputation that's taken decades to earn.
So what is your, so what I have right now, this budget covers the operating expenses for providing public water in Sturbridge. This budget requires an increase in the water rate to $8.72 per 100 cubic feet, a 3.2% increase. The Select Board, acting as water commissioners, voted to authorize this new rate at their April 7, 2025 meeting to become effective for the quarter ending June 30th, 2025.
All right, if you reverse the order and do it chronologically according to reality, you say on such and such date, a certain board named took certain action. As a direct result, this article appears.
No. I can see where you're coming from, but again, this is the cart and horse argument. Whatever this number is, right, whether it's 1.8 million now or 1.5 million number, is just like plugging into a formula, comes up with a rate. Right?
Yeah.
So we're voting the budget at 1.8, you plug it into the formula, and the number that says what we need to charge people is $8.72.
So we're prisoners of what? Where'd the formula come from?
That's the rate-setting formula. And I don't,
Look, we live with this stuff, and we're at 6s and 7s. Somebody who does one thing a year besides voting, attend the annual town meeting, and counts on us to be able to spell it out for them.
Right, so let's go back. We have an article where we're asking town meeting to approve $1.8 million for the operation of the water department,
That's the only statement you want?
which is paid by
That's the key
the
one.
water users there.
And then we say that.
In order to support that $1.8 million
It
budget,
does now.
the rate
says
needs
this
to
exact-
increase to
Results. It says required.
872 per 100 cubic feet.
The result of this budget is this.
What's
right
wrong
here.
with putting into the box what Mike just said?
I think that's where we are in the first two sentences. Then we said the rate has already been approved effective that day.
Explain
If
the
somebody comes
inevitable.
back and says, no, I don't like that rate, then we gotta go back and say, well, you gotta lower the budget.
Explain the inevitability of the equation.
In
We
my
should
mind,
answer
I think the
questions.
box, the way
Our
it is-
answers should not create questions. Our answers should be definitive.
All right, so I put you.
Excuse me one second, it can never be, because we don't know the exact number of cubic feet that's gonna be consumed by the community in the allotted period. If you really wanna dig down, and make this a ridiculous argument, we can drill down to how many gallons we're gonna use per person. Yeah, it can't be that specific unless,
So,
I'm
so
just saying.
based on what Jim had just handed me, I did change one word, right? The budget results in an increase of the water rate to $8.72 per 100 cubic feet.
this budget
Yeah.
results.
All right.
In an
It
increase
says
in the-
this budget, I'm
in the
sorry, I
water
said
rate to
the.
$8.72. It's basically saying this 872 is tied to this budget. Best as we can do. We don't have the formula, we don't know who figured it, who did the calculation.
Results is a nice word. It's not requires.
Right,
Right.
results is why I put it there instead of requires.
Well, or reflects, which didn't seem to
Reflects,
be
yes.
right when it was first mentioned.
Because
But
requires.
not requires.
Requires
It
like
brings the
locked in.
question, what are you asking me for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like FinCom, we make recommendations. If you said the board recommends an 8.72% to fit the budget, they recommend it, fine, then you can vote. You have it, if it's already done, then they're gonna, like
So-
to Larry's point, you say no, then where do we go?
Let's go back to this then. So the budget covers the operating expenses for the providing public water in Sturbridge. This budget results in an increase of the water rate to $8.72 per 100 cubic feet, a 3.2% increase. Now, I could add that whole thing about the select board already approving it, or just leave it out.
We're making them out now.
Point, I'm okay, I could go either way.
I'll take
I could
out
go
the
either
select
way.
board
You
thing.
Take it out.
All right, so we're just gonna go with that. This,
9 years I've been doing this, and it's never come up before, Jesus. Okay.
all right, so we're doing the same thing. We're saying this
There's never a
budget
problem
results
until there's a problem.
in a rate increase of the sewer rate to $16.70 and of the flat sewer. Should that say the word rate as well?
It's, I would say the flats, it's really a,
I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore.
yeah, if you wanna call it a rate, that's fine. It's $2.43 per quarter.
All right, per quarter, okay.
Or,
Great, excellent. So I think I got that all down in here. Yeah. All right, save that.
Apologize, I thought I had a simple little tweak there, but it was interesting discussion.
All right. Article 33, sewer project debt betterments. All right, 34, stormwater MS4 compliance. 35, zoning bylaws. Now, Barbara, were you, I thought you had went back to,
Gene?
Jean, thank you, to have her look at these again. Or she's good with everything?
She looked at it, and then from the time that you started using that updated warrant, and then I haven't had her look at it again, which I mean, I can do.
No, as long as we're not changing her intent, but we're cleaning up things, so clean up the bylaw. So 37, ADU definition. Now, there was, I know, Barbara, you and I discussed this, but it was stated at the Board of Select, or the Select Board's meeting on Monday night, that this article did not require a two-thirds vote, but, you know, as we saw, the town council did definitely state it did. So I'm leaving the two-thirds vote in the subject header.
Saying it's zoning articles always require a two-thirds vote.
So the only one that doesn't is the definitions.
No.
And I did mention to the board that the other change, I said to them, they were very minor changes. The other thing was that it was all two-thirds except for the definitions.
Yeah, right, but that's not correct, because in the version sent to us from the town council, he very clearly and specifically wrote that he thought that this included a two-thirds vote as well. So I just wanted
The
to.
definition one?
Yes,
That's fine. I mean, they had indicated to me the definitions didn't, but that's fine.
yeah, so I just wanted to make that.
Can't hurt, I mean, you know.
No, but it's noted in there, that's all. Article 38, accessory dwelling units. Big multi-page article. 39, 40,
Oh, wait, hold on. Where is that?
you all set, MC?
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, I thought you were gonna make a statement, so I was just.
I was, but then I chose not to.
Oh, okay. 41, 42, commercial tourist. Oh, huh. Got a recommendation of the planning board there is underlined, and it shouldn't be. Is that everywhere else like that? Oh, great. So save that. Article 43, commercial tourist. 44, historic commercial. 45, special use district. We're still on page 47. Great, I don't think we created new page breaks. Wonderful. All right, so that gets us through the annual town meeting and the summary boxes. So thank you for reviewing that. Keeping me honest about that, and I just lost everything again. All right, then the last thing is our actual report, which I sent out the latest revision late this afternoon. I don't know if anyone wants to, if there's anywhere anyone wants to add comment, color.
Yeah, on the second page of this portion, reasons for budget increase.
Yeah,
The second and last line comprise 51.8% of the amount of proposed town budget. It says to proposed.
yeah, wait, the education. Should really be comprising 58.1
Of the
Sorry.
amount
of the,
of the proposed town budget
yes,
instead of to.
yes. So it should be comprising 51%
51.
of the amount
Of.
to the, of the amount of the proposed budget.
Of the proposed town budget's fine, right? Of the proposed town budget?
So get rid of the amount.
Yeah, just put 58.1% of the proposed town budget. That makes sense.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. It's actually a little more than 51.8%. Barbara was trying to explain to me, but it's really hard to figure that out because these school employees, their costs for their insurance and health care is actually contained in the line item budget, even though they're employed by the school department. So, as an FYI.
All right, so
Yeah, round it out. Yeah.
we can go back to the page one, the bottom budget highlights.
Okay?
1, 2, 3, the fourth line. Predictability results in increased uncertainty as some key revenue and expense amounts were not known when the budget proposal was presented.
Okay,
Past tense when we did it, or versus
all
are.
right.
And then it continues, as a committee's review process evolved, some of those revenue and expense numbers began to solidify.
Okay.
And then it says, but some important ones are still in flux as we go to the print.
Yeah.
We talking about what's in flux later on in here, or are we just kind of leaving this hanging?
We do leave it hanging. I mean, it's the amount of state aid. It's completely unknown. We can make a best guesstimate, but we don't know.
Well, do we want to say that instead of some important ones or?
Well, we can say some important ones like state
Like-
aid.
Yeah, for example, state aid or something like that.
Yeah. State aid are still in flux as we go to print without, okay.
Because they're, okay, so I'm just put like state aid in,
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, makes sense.
Off of things, okay. Excellent, thank you, Mike, for clarifying that.
Under financial strength,
All right.
the first page, I guess it is,
Uh-huh.
do you mean FY '25?
I do. I actually had someone else ask me that question too. Yeah, because the amount is only certified at the beginning of fiscal year '25.
But are we going to FY '26?
Yeah, what I'm telling you is by the end of all these articles we've taken in fiscal year '25, we should be left with the 3 million number there. What is it?
5, not 9?
No, that's what we start with, right?
So shouldn't it be we began instead of began?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. We began, there we
Yeah.
go.
Thank you. That's,
Okay.
that's, yeah. I thought you were questioning the fiscal year '25.
Well, I was, but then when you said it was, then it
Yeah.
should have been began then. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I feel like there's something missing in there, right? So we talk about, the first sentence says, we continue to maintain whatever and updated financial policies and practices. And then, right, so then, for example, we have free cash.
Yep.
And it just kind of sits there, I think, right?
You want me to take, I mean, I would like to, when we start talking, I guess we could, down here where in warrant articles, we could move that whole statement about, I can take out the, for example, and we began fiscal year of '25 and move it down there. I mean, that's really what I was trying to do. I was trying to give us a starting point and then subtract out the numbers that,
Does our free cash influence our financial strength?
it does.
Okay.
So if it goes back to the end, it's really the end part of that first sentence, right? We possess strong available reserves, is what you're saying, right? We've got, in addition to the AAA rating there, it's because we're using the updated guidelines and we maintain reserves. And you're just giving the one example of free cash in there.
For example.
I don't know if we want to add into that, beginning FY '25, we've got a high cash level of, our free cash and our reserve balances are within, the guidelines, the updated guidelines that we've maintained here or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, all right, give me an idea where you want to put that. That's fine. Oh, wow.
Right, let me give me a little bit more thought to
All
that
right,
as you move
okay.
on.
So, anything else in here that sticks out? I do notice one thing is I'm not consistent with fiscal year. In some places, I'd say FY space and then the year. In other places, it's one word, so I'm gonna try and find those. And if anyone finds free cash with a small f and a small c, let me know, because I've tried to fix all those because free cash is actually the official name of that category.
Well, then, what we were just talking about is certified unallocated fund balance, AKA.
Yeah, that, I fixed that one
Okay.
already, but yeah, so that's good, that one's fixed.
Right, I can tell you that all the frees are capital Fs. So you're good.
Yes, I can find those eventually. I thought I caught them all already, but not in the version, I thought I did send it to you.
Warrant,
In the PDFs you sent, all the word frees are capital Fs.
All right, great.
okay, the warrant article paragraph,
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
the second paragraph, the last line, even after the recommended expenditures, the town's free cash.
Yeah, that's capital F, capital C, balance.
Do you have it capitalized?
I do. Did you not get the last thing I sent out at 4:30?
I thought I did.
Okay.
Oh, like since last night?
Yeah, it was sent out 4:30 this
Oh, yeah, it
afternoon.
was 30, yeah. That's what I'm looking
Go ahead.
Under projected revenues, the second paragraph, the very last line,
Yeah,
reaching the tipping point where real fiscal constraints. Real is always the case, so either
Strike the word real?
significant or major would be better than real,
okay.
I think.
I'm not tied to either one, and just you tell me what adjective you like to put there.
Do we need an adjective? Just
No,
fiscal
just where
Where
constraints.
fiscal constraints may be needed to fund the,
I'm fine with that.
I'd say major,
Major?
yeah, because every constraint is significant. It's really a question of degree, but major is really a deep pink, if not red flag to the voters that, hey, go slow now because there are consequences.
Like we're passing yellow going to red.
yeah.
Yeah, fine, yeah.
Say taking tipping out and put major, is that where?
I'm sorry.
No,
Oh, wait,
real. We'll take out the word real.
Real and use the word major.
you know, that's fine, yeah.
Okay.
My question, shouldn't this whole paragraph from starting with however, the second sentence, first paragraph, shouldn't this all be under financial strength? It's not to do with revenue. In other words, you're saying we're using free cash to basically fund operations where we can do that for a period of time, call it COVID, call it whatever you want, but ultimately it's going to catch up to us and it's going to affect our financial strength. And I think the townspeople, transparency-wise, should probably know that.
But that's what we used the safety nets that we put in place over the years to allow us to balance.
Free cash is not revenue. Revenue comes from town people, commercial, that's the revenue source, right? Not free cash. Free cash is emergency fund.
It's unallocated fund balance, yeah.
But I think the next paragraph kind of goes to what you're saying, Ken. So after saying all that, if the town continues on the pace where its costs exceed the revenues, the town may have to resort to cutting services. Basically, we're just trying to say, we need some new revenue sources.
Yeah. But I think that's definitely talking about your financial strength, or put it in another, I don't know, put in another category for that. I think it's important, extremely important.
So you're saying you take out, however, and move it up to the top?
I would put it under, maybe I'd put it under financial risks, or financial strengths and risk, or if you want to keep financial strength with our rating, that's fine, but maybe you want to put in the budget financial risk, in which case, the safety nets of the town interacting, stabilization fund, stuff like that, and shortfall, creates a financial risk in the future.
It doesn't create it, it helps prevent it.
Well, if you have operating budgets and you're using free cash to,
But we're not at this point, right? That's what.
we have.
No, we haven't. We're actually funding capital project. We're actually funding capital. That's normally put into a department's operating budget. We're not using free cash to keep a department running. The only instance where and I thought this was in here somewhere, where we're basically funding the police cruiser outside of it where we would normally, so we could keep a balanced budget. That was what was presented at the beginning of this whole thing, and that's what I put in here. We're not really threatening operations or even costs, but it's a capital item right now. But it doesn't take much if you start looking at the 5-year projection to see that as costs continue at a reasonable rate, our revenues are going to get shorter and shorter. And people need to be aware that starting next year, there's a strong likelihood that cuts will be needed to present a balanced budget at the town meeting.
Yeah, I think that somewhere needs to be, because what you're saying here is revenue shortfalls. Free cash reserves allows us to write out revenue shortfalls. So we're using cash reserves for revenue shortfalls to fund the operations or departments. You can do that for a short period of time, but over time, to your point, it's going to catch up to you.
And that's what we say. We say we think we prudently did that this year, but beware, going forward, things are looking bad.
Why don't you put maybe projected revenue / risks as a heading?
Okay.
That will cover it. Hey, Barb? Barb?
Nope, I'm here.
I'm sorry, I got a question. You made a very important point last meeting, and I don't know remember it exactly, but you said that Sturbridge, with our restaurants and commercial revenue, we're like one of the top towns in New England, or we have a very strong, high ratio of business revenue versus private or something?
I think that was me, that was, if you compare the percentage of our local receipts, restaurant, hotel, to other communities, we have a much higher percentage of our budget, of our revenue streams come from those local receipts than most other communities.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because, we talk a lot about increasing business in the town, increasing business, but if you compare it to other towns, and really our business and the revenue from those businesses is greater than everywhere else, that doesn't seem to be the problem, does it? If it was less, I'd say yeah, and we want to get more business, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't seem to be the problem. If we're like the standard for revenue coming in from businesses, that's not bad.
We always want to see more revenue coming in from everywhere. I don't disagree with this whole discussion. The bottom line is what killed us in this budget, and it was increases that were out of our control. And I know that's not where this discussion is going, but the reality is 16 and change on the retirement fund, the healthcare costs. So yes, if that continues, we are going to have to find new revenue streams.
That's good. Okay.
So, but
I'm
yeah,
trying to
we do
cover
pretty
all
well
that.
off hotels and restaurants. We did budget relatively conservatively though, because they did flatten out this year in '24. A lot of uncertainty in '24.
Yeah, it is enviable, and equally so, it's unpredictable. Look what happened during the pandemic. So, it's good when it's good. With Barbara's invaluable help some years ago, I happened to do a study, and oh man, the percentage swings. It would be 90,000 one year, and 2 years later it was 238,000, and so forth. And you can't know. It's good when it's good. It's like, the nursery rhyme, the little girl who, when she's good, she's good. Yeah. When she's bad, she's awful. Yeah. Same sort of thing. In free cash, though, we're not drawing on free cash to meet the payroll or the phone bill or the light bill. And the fact that we aren't is a major factor in Standard & Poor's evaluation. AA+, stable.
Okay. All right. And anything else? Anyone? I think I hit all of those high points, so.
That's good.
All right, so then we got, the warrant articles, explanatory comment, that kind of just talks about that. Counting system, the meeting schedule, we do have 45 annual meeting, 10 special, so on and so forth. This is the last chance for anyone to remove their name if they don't want to consider it.
No money.
Maybe we can use initials this time, we can use initials. No, I'm kidding.
All right, So, good, we'll go forward with that as our report from the Finance Committee.
Good.
All right, so I guess that gets us everywhere. So what kind of the next steps are is I have to get what we've changed in the annual town meeting and special town meeting warrants PDF and sent to the town clerk for posting tomorrow, so that'll happen tonight. And then I'll put together all of these things as another final draft PDF that'll go out to, Robin, Barbara, the town clerk, and whoever to get it posted on the website. Because at this point, because I didn't know a page count, I have not met with a printer yet. My goal is to call the printer tomorrow, once I have that finalized PDF and knowing the page count, and be able to go to them and say, I would like to have the book delivered by April 24th to the town hall. So, this really puts a crimp, because I usually like to see 2 full weeks before the annual town meeting, so people can come in and pick up our Finance Committee report and read it, think about it. In this case, they're gonna get 1 business day.
Holy criminy.
It is what it is.
I did have a question on, after the front page of this annual, where it's listing for your convenience, all these different phone numbers.
Yeah.
Is Tantascwa information missing? I mean, it shows school department and it says Burgess.
It might be. I mean, this has been there so long, it's just been kind of a carryover. We could strike it if you really wanted to.
So that stuck out to me.
Kevin,
Yes.
you might want to just strike it because you've got stuff on here that's not even,
Accurate anymore?
well, yeah, like civil defense, nutrition site. Is that there? Or did we get rid of that? Maybe I'm in the wrong book.
So
Hold
some
on.
of them got cleaned up, but it's been a while.
Let me look, sorry.
So-
All right, that was the 24, so I guess we did change stuff in 25.
So we spend money publishing this overall report, and all the phone numbers are in
Right.
there as well. So we don't need them in 2 places. They already get them in the other report.
And then also the Board of Selectmen, shouldn't that be shown as Select Board?
Well, it should have, but we're gonna get rid of that whole page now.
Oh, never mind.
I just need to go into this document here. Oh, that's the table of contents. So did everyone check, did the table of contents line up and all the pages go right where they belong?
Once you have the automatic table of contents generated, do that, or you manually do
I
it?
don't know how to do that. You'll have to teach me sometime.
I verify.
I build an Excel, spreadsheet.
You get me within 1 or 2 pages, I think somebody can find where the article is if need be.
What's going on here?
Okay.
All righty, so we'll save that. Great. All right, so I don't think we have anything now. At this point, I don't have any, actually, we have the minutes of April 3rd to deal with. Then we'll go on with, I'll deal with it in new business. All right, the minutes of April 3rd, that came in the email.
Okay, I have a few things.
Okay,
On the 5th page,
page 5.
page 5.
Well, actually, I could, what, hang on, give me a second.
Oh, sure.
It's right there.
I'm not used to having them with me. Page 5.
The 3rd paragraph from the top. KS recounted that in 2009, or was that 2023? I mean, Jim, you gave us that sheet.
That was in 2024. You're talking about I'm trying to find it.
Okay, this is, yeah.
There was a warrant article in 2023 for fiscal year 2024.
I'm sorry, is in our report of the finance committee for fiscal year '24.
Okay, so then, that in
This
2024,
this particular book.
okay.
So that 09 probably is, yeah.
Yeah, so 2009 was not right.
Is not right. Yeah, it should be 2023.
23?
Well, yeah, because that's when the meeting was held, June of 2023.
The cover year is correct, I hope.
Oh, I fixed that, the 88. I did fix it this year, so I don't
Okay.
have to hear that again.
Okay.
You can see on this one, I crossed out and put 7th, and now this one says 8th. So,
And then on the 6th page, the very top line, PD noted the, I'm assuming 500,000 instead of,
Yep.
okay?
Devin stole that zero and put it in a warrant article, I'm just taking it back.
Okay. Okay, the next paragraph, the second sentence, it's just, it's not a full sentence. It says, other than completing the blah, 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 blah. Completing the GTT from Farquhar, still can't pronounce that, to the Riverlands is still necessary.
Yeah.
Because all it says is, other than completing the GTT from Farquhar to the Riverlands. And that's a period.
Yeah,
So I was like, completing this
right, yeah.
is still necessary, or,
I think that's supposed to be.
oh,
And completing the G from Farquhar to the Riverlands, comma, BG does not.
okay.
That's right.
Or we could just use a comma
We now have a comment.
idea.
Yep.
instead of my superfluous. Let me see, the paragraph on the same page that starts with Lynn Peterson. 1, 2, 3. Fourth line down, as she has seen similar attractions in other, is that supposed to be countries or counties?
Countries.
Did she say, okay.
Yeah. Yes, Romania, she talked about.
Okay, I just wanted to,
It's countries.
and then finally on the next page, the 7th page, the paragraph that starts, JW made a motion to. And this, I don't know if this is, let me see, the 4th line from the bottom, after the number 1, or pursuit to any other enabling authority and to issue bonds or notes
The town therefore, yeah.
of the town therefore. Is that with an E or not?
Is that what?
That's the language from council.
Town council, yeah.
Well, then,
Good question,
but therefore might be one of those older words, like,
but it's a good,
okay.
I
So
don't know.
then,
But I
keep it-
didn't change, I didn't want to change.
if it's
Right,
from
I
town
would.
council, I suggest just keep it the way it is. Okay, that's it for me.
They're not always right.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, on the last page, the second paragraph, it starts with BB explained. Okay, the end of the 3rd line, along with the next, there should be a space. That's all.
I do look for all the grammatical change items when I, yep. Good, got it.
Told you my mom was an English teacher.
You got the one I already sent you, right? Yep. I was an English major.
Anyone else with changes related to the minutes of April 3rd?
And again, just so the group's aware, I may send this out and I may make these edits, but the first draft comes very nicely from Melissa. I just
That's
do
right.
a little second review on this and merge our 2 different styles into a document that I think we're both get happy with in the end here. So,
These are so
You
informed.
handled a hell of a lot, very nicely.
especially like the trails thing, my notes go very blank, 22-page presentation period, and when I read this, it's like, oh, and I remember that discussion, so.
A lot.
You're a professional writer.
Very well done, thank you.
All righty. So then I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Kathy seconds. Amended. April 3rd. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? And that is 8-0. Okay, great. So, back to the warrant. Oh, did I? Sorry. This is all me. I'll let you. If it's in arm reach, it works. Even Mike just get away.
My money clip out there.
All right. So, new business. All right, right now, there's not any anticipation that we will need to meet prior to the annual town meeting date on the 28th. If that changes, you will know. But right now, that is not scheduled to happen. Just remember that for the finance committee, at the very least, it's business dress for the annual town meeting. And I don't know if I have anything else other than that, other than this at 7
And you're not
p.m.
anticipating we would need in advance of that, we would just show up at town meeting.
Correct, exactly.
Okay.
And then I believe we will be sitting down front again, but this time both tables will have monitors, so we don't have to be doing this.
Oh,
We-
good.
They will be in front of us, so we can see it. And other than that, anyone else with new
Yeah,
business?
Kevin, thank you. You've handled this very adroitly, and you've really booted this baby home. Thank you.
All right.
You kept us, on point.
Old business? All right. Ms. Neal? Usually the motion to adjourn. Okay.
The last time,
There you go.
Thank you for your, thank you for your service.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. You're right.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for everything, and you held this seat for a few years, so.
yes, difficult years. You do a much better job as chair than me, or at least putting all that together.
Yeah, Kevin, you don't know. She was chair, and 8 others went and talked to Mike Kaplan about keeping things the way they are. That you were off the committee.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but
Better that way.
they all wanted to continue on.
Well, yeah, it was just
What she
fine.
said.
Just don't.
But I was quite relieved when Kevin came back. Here, you can have it back.
It's, I suppose, a question, fielding questions that during the town meeting, is most questions fielded directed to you?
Again, I guess I thought I said this to me. Jim and I are the only 2 people authorized, just because we're chair and vice chair, to speak on behalf of the finance committee. But any of you as private citizens can get up, and as long as you indicate that and say anything, express anything you want to do. But you represent the opinion of recommendations of you, finance committee, that falls to the 2 of us.
And that means going around to the microphone, getting recognized.
In the audience, yeah.
Right, and giving your address and
Yeah.
saying that, not Larry Morrison Finance Committee, but Larry Morrison Old Farm Road.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Then in July, we meet, don't we, because of late bills or something?
Yeah, we usually
We
meet ahead of
usually
time.
meet in July, and the.
Oh, no, before the end of the fiscal year, we'll probably have another meeting, yeah.
And then,
Maybe.
Reserve fund
and
transfers.
then
if need be,
the
at-
organizational meeting, or reorganizational meeting, whatever it is.
Yeah, there will be that too.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I thought someone was saying something, but, okay.
Crickets.
Oh, all right. All right, anything else? We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? And Larry seconds it. All those in favor?
Thank you, Robin, thank you.